Sea diver and spearfisherman, scientist and leader who has a lifelong commitment to the marine environment. He has a vision to make a positive difference for future and current generations. Adam's personal and organisational values are people first, leadership, environmental responsibility, excellence and passion. And I think that mirrors a lot of the qualities and values we find in this room. Combined with collaboration, ethical and quality science, I think you'll find Managing Director of Reef Ecologic and Adjunct Associate Professor with James Cook University enthralling. With almost 30 years' experience, he has initiated, collaborated and delivered many innovative and important ecological and social projects. Please welcome him to our stage here at Project Catalyst 2021.
Thanks very much, Kim, and welcome to my town, Townsville. I've been here since last century. It's the traditional owners of this part of the world are the Woolgoorukaba and the Bindal people. I came here because it's a reef town with James Cook Uni, Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority, AIMS. If you're interested in science, this is the place to be. But it's also a town with a very diverse community. And I'm pleased to share a story today, not about science, but about people and my story. So this is Reef Leadership. I'm much more comfortable underwater in a wetsuit than standing up on stage. The photo at the right, if you have a look closely at the coral, that's bleaching as a result of warmer water. We do surveys of that on some of our outer reefs. The photo on the left is me immersed just offshore here at Magnetic Island. And you can see that there is a big difference, not only in the colour of the water, but also in the biota. Magnetic Island over the last few years has become more dominated by seaweed rather than coral. Kim mentioned that I'm a passionate spearfisher, and I go to the reef once or twice a month trying to catch a feed, whether it be a Spanish mackerel or a coral trout. And I also get in the water near shore at places such as Cape Cleveland and Magnetic Island and target tasty fish such as barramundi and fingermark. I'm on the water 2 to 250 days a year. That's where my passion is. Now that I'm getting a bit older, I paddle a lot in the creeks and the rivers and to the islands, and that gives me a really good handle, not only on the quality of the water, but what's out there. You know, I see dolphins regularly, turtles, the occasional dugong, shark. Haven't seen a croc yet, but it's probably only a matter of time. So I'm going to go from really big to really detailed, and this slide's actually been inspired by Sir David Attenborough. And this is a book that he wrote called A Life on Our Planet. Now, I was born in 1964, 56 years ago, and there's been some huge changes since I was born, as there has been for you. When I was born, there was 3.3 billion people on the planet. It's more than doubled. In 1964, the carbon in the atmosphere was around 320 parts per million. And wilderness dominated the planet when I was born, but now it's about a third. And right down the bottom, I've got ecological footprint. If you've never done it before, I'm going to encourage you to do it over these next couple of days, but mine's 2.2 planets. That's my ecological footprint. We've only got one planet, so obviously that's not very sustainable. Look, I grew up absolutely fascinated with fish, and I've worked on everything from plankton to whales. But more and more as I've grown older, I think I've moved away from focusing on fish and animals which are a protected species and increasing in numbers now, or the Great Barrier Reef anemone fish, which you may or may not know is the aquatic emblem of Queensland. Work across science, management, be innovative, respond to challenges and changes. And this has included working with the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority during the rezoning process, working in partnership with ports during some challenging times where we're trying to find out more about dredging and spoil disposal. I've worked on do a few years ago, and similarly on coral restoration. This is very new to Australia. They've been doing it in the Caribbean for 20 plus years. We never thought we would be involved in hands-on planting coral on the Great Barrier Reef. If you walk along the Strand at Townsville, you may see this sculpture on the right. It's called the Ocean Siren. It's a young Indigenous girl holding up a science water station at Davies Reef, and it actually changes colour according to water temperature. So if it's blue, the water's cold. If it's orange, it's warm. If it's red, it's hot. And that just starts conversations about science and art and culture, and hundreds of thousands of people can see it. We've also installed last year a large structure underwater called the Coral Greenhouse. It's like a greenhouse on land, but it's underwater, and we aim to plant coral in it. Now, why would we do that? Well, the reason is, traditionally as a scientist, I speak to scientists and very small groups. But by doing something like this, your influence goes global. And when we did the launch of that coral greenhouse, the global media stories were phenomenal. There was over 400 of them, and the reach was 184 million people. So you can get good messages out to the world and start conversations and potentially make a difference. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we see the world as Reef Ecologic, and then I'm going to focus a little bit about how I see you, which is quite a brave thing to do. So an analysis that you may or may not have heard about is a pestle analysis. And it's something that's taught in a general business course. It covers everything from politics to economics to social. And it's a good way of evaluating where you're at and looking at your key issues. So from a company's perspective, obviously we're very comfortable in the environmental space, and I've talked about one of the things that we do is plant coral. The other thing that we're moving more and more to is the social side. We train people, we reach a lot of people, but we've also been involved in some quite interesting behavioural change projects, particularly in the Whitsundays, where we've been working with tourists to try and make them safer, particularly as a result of a number of shark bites down there a couple of years ago. And we've been able to measure some of those behavioural changes. Obviously, as a small business owner, we're also interested in economics, not only in our business, but in our community. And some of the projects that we've been involved in have been predicted to generate almost 200 jobs and $40 million. Also, we ask for feedback really regularly, not only from our staff, but also our external stakeholders. And sometimes it's a surprise as to how people see you. And how our close network sees us is that we've got very good strengths in leadership. We've got good strengths in environmental sustainability. We probably could do a little bit more in terms of safety and communication and research. As part of preparing for this conference, I designed a short survey, and it was sent out to all of you. And hugely thank you to the people who responded. And this is what they call a word cloud. So in response to the question, one word to describe your connection to the Great Barrier Reef, this group believed that their strongest connection to the Great Barrier Reef was fishing. I wonder if that surprises you. Have a look at some of the other words. Farming is there, beautiful is there, passionate, regulations, and childhood. And I'll talk about this in the conclusion, because if you are connected to fishing and the reef, there might be an opportunity for further synergies. I also asked the same question for one word to describe your connection to farming. And the most common word that came back was passionate, followed by survival, and a number of other words like close, family, essential, livelihood, cane, regenerative, caretaker. So you should be very proud of that, and we've got certainly something in common. I love my job, you love your job. There's a lot of passion there. So how do I see you? First of all, I see people. I see people on the land who care about their work, care about their community, that are doing some good, that are putting money into the economy. I've looked at quite a lot of videos and websites and newsletters, and here's also how I see you. Large farms, lots of greenery, burning cane occasionally, and I quite like this Project Catalyst infographic, which shows the big picture of how the ridge and the reef is connected, and it puts some numbers to things such as nitrogen and water use and sediment. And I said I was going to be brave, and I've had a little bit to do with cane farmers, but one of the things we often do with a new industry or a new business is we do a quick SWOT analysis, a strength, weakness, opportunities, threat. So I put this up here to start a conversation, for you to come back to me during the break and say, you got that right, but you're really wrong on that. But this is how I see your industry. And weakness, threats. The biggest strengths is you, people, the farmers. You're the stewards for the land. This Project Catalyst is amazing, particularly because of its diverse partnerships here. I love that you're innovative. I love practices. Benefits. The weakness, say it, cane farmers, you're deaf. Cane farmers, your water quality, so opportunities, more so. Very ambitious. Storing wetland, general trajectory, even though there are small improvements in coral, is not very good for the future. Regulations, and there's a few others as well. So, it is the wrong answer. It's whether that be on the land. It's all of those. We all know what to do, but barriers are whether the time doing to undertake to works and then to scale. I was also doing a bit of how receptive you